welcome to the first of a series of panels bringing together the authors who have contributed to the newly founded Journal of Free Speech Law. I'm Jane Bambauer, Professor of Law at the University of Arizona, and also faculty fellow at UCLA's Institute for Technology, Law, and Policy. And I'm joined by Ash Bhagwat from UC Davis, Eugene Volokh from UCLA, and Christopher Yu from UPenn. And Eugene is the founding editor of the journal, and Ash and I help as executive editors run the journal in terms of its day-to-day or weekly workload. So we're going to eventually get to a conversation about 4 specific essays that each of us have written on the topic of platforms, content moderation, and free speech limitations to government intervention of them. But before we do, I did want to, as a sort of introduction to the whole series, I did want to talk a little bit about the journal and why it was formed and how it differs and adds value as compared to other existing journals. So Eugene, why did you want to start this?
Well, for a long time, law professors have been talking about why not have peer-reviewed journals, like real academic disciplines. There's the old joke that law is the only field in which students edit the journals and professors grade the papers. And there have been all sorts of reasons why faculty-edited journals have been started in the past. There certainly have been plenty. There are also, I think, reasons why people have gone along with student-edited journals too. But we thought that it would be helpful to have a journal specifically dealing with free speech law that's faculty edited, that's peer reviewed. We think evaluating the soundness, utility, and especially the novelty of scholarly work generally requires experience in the field, and second and third year law students probably aren't going to be that good at it, not because of any failings on their part, just they're not people who have read thoroughly in the field and who can evaluate articles that well. Relatedly, we think that peer reviewers can also better avoid pressure to exclude controversial viewpoints or controversial authors. Of course, everyone's human and has the normal biases of humans, and in fact, actually, sometimes faculty-edited journals are faulted for kind of work, kind of enforcing traditional orthodoxies within a field. But we think that it's good to have a mix of journals out there, student-edited journals and faculty-edited journals. That's a kind of ecosystem that I think is going to be more resistant to whatever the particular passions and flavors of the day might be. Also, because faculty editors tend to have more self-confidence than students, we thought it would be easier for us to jettison traditions that we think are counterproductive. So we're, for example, going to have a very light hand on the editing side. We're going to not be as demanding about blue booking and other such things as some journals historically have been. My sense is, as an author, that could be pretty valuable, and we're hoping other authors appreciate that too. Another feature that I think we'll be able to do is we'll be able to publish very quickly, in part because even though we have a print version of the journal where we have first issue is being printed, the important thing these days is to have things be posted as quickly as possible online. So we think we're going to have a lot quicker turnaround on that, especially after the end of the first issue, where we had some initializing matters with Westlaw, for example. But once that's done, we could, in principle, get from a draft to something being online on our site and on Westlaw within weeks, a few months at most. One other feature that we have is we have what I call a robe and gown board. That this is a combination of faculty members on the editorial board and judges. And I think, again, it's good to have a system which has a little bit of both. On the one hand, one obviously wants work that is useful to the academy, and that often it's academics who are going to be good at evaluating it. But law is a field where there's also a pretty substantial practical component. And I think it's very helpful to have judges be able to review it and sort of say, you know, this is an article maybe academics might find not that intriguing, but we as judges, this is something that will be very useful for us. And we hope for lawyers as well. Although as it happens, all of the judges that we've chosen for the board are people who have themselves been academics, often not First Amendment academics, but at least had been academics or are adjunct faculty or treatise writers and such. So they also understand academic interests. Our hope is it'll be useful. It'll be something that we'll get to publish excellent articles that some of them might not have been published in student-edited journals. Some of them might have been, but they were published more quickly or more accessibly, perhaps. And that in a few years, people will look back and say, well, it's nice to have a journal like this. And the last thing is we have a motto. See, it's right here on the coffee mug. It's from Justice Holmes. You may recall, it is an experiment as all life is an experiment. He was talking about the Constitution. We're talking about the journal. We're actually talking about all life. I really do agree. All life is an experiment. So we'll see how it works out. But my hope is that it will. And so far, I've been very, very pleased with this first issue that we're about to turn to, the first of the discussions about first issue about First Amendment and social media platforms.
Yeah, great. Ash, do you want to add anything?
Only that I think that I agree with everything Eugene said, but I would really emphasize the speed of publication. I think as this conversation will reveal, technology moves so quickly and issues on technology move so quickly right now that a publishing cycle that takes 1.5 years to see things see the light of day is really disserves, I think, the community. And I'm really hoping we can stick to our fast publication schedule, because I really think that is invaluable.
That's interesting. So, yeah, even though the three of us work together pretty closely on this journal, I know that some authors find that tremendously valuable. I personally don't, because drafts can be put on SSRN, and actually you have an advantage of doing it that way before the real version is done. But on the other hand, and yet still, I agree that as a package of benefits that the journal offers, you've raised a bunch of important ones. I'd also say that we've been quite selective in terms of the review process. You know, each article gets 2 independent reviews, blind reviews, and very few articles have made it past the finish line. And I think in time that's really going to redound to the journal's benefit, because it will be a real sign of you know, extreme quality to actually get published through our selection process. So so I'm excited for the future of the journal, and through our symposium work, we've been able to engage people like Christopher Yu, who occasionally write in the free speech area, and when we want them to think about a particular question that we have on our minds, they're often willing to do it. And so thanks, Christopher, for joining us. All right.